Hello everyone, we live on the third largest island in the world, with rainforests estimated to be 150 million years old, filled with endemic species. The Kinabatangan River, the second largest in Malaysia, flows in one of these rainforests, home to thousands of creatures. However, with deforestation for palm oil plantations, the river, its inhabitants, and surroundings are all rapidly declining, with the rainforest being the only temporary refuge for dazed animals. But like everything else, there is light at the end of the tunnel, and thanks to Danau Girang Field Center, who are getting their hands dirty to keep and restore what is left of the Kinabatangan rainforest. Today, I'm very pleased to be chatting with the founder and director, Dr. Benoit Goossens. Hello, thank you for joining me.
Hi, Julia. Thank you for inviting me.
Since you were young, you were very passionate about wild animals and knew you wanted to work with them in some way. What made you want to settle in Borneo? I know you've traveled a lot before, haven't you?
Yes, I did. So I'm from Belgium, from Europe. I always dream of working with animals. One of my best friends, Mark Ankrenaz, set up a conservation project on orangutans in the Kinabatangan. And I went there back in '99 the first time, and then I applied for some funding to look at the conservation genetics of orangutan in the Kinabatangan. And during that time, I found out about the few buildings that you can see in my background. This is the Danau Girang Field Center, or at that time it was not a field center. It was built by the Sabah Wildlife Department to be an education center, and but it was falling apart, and I came up with the idea of setting up a research center. The center is a collaboration between the Sabah Wildlife Department, which is the owner of the center, and Cardiff University.
So your center is located right on the edge of the Kinabatangan, as we can see in the picture, in the middle of the rainforest, which is quite a unique place to be. I saw that elephants paid you a visit before. Is there any other residential animal that comes to the center?
We have orangutans coming very closely, sometimes nesting very close to our accommodation. We have clouded leopard sometimes visiting us. Civets, monitor lizards, pangolins sometimes coming also very close to the buildings, and obviously elephants. Elephants quite frequently, 3 or 4 times a year, they come to pay a visit, and it's always a pleasure to have them around.
I'm sure it must be a treat for the people who are the students who might be staying there. On how much land approximately does your staff and students do their research?
So the Lower Kinabatangan Wildlife Sanctuary is split in several forest fragments, and we are located in one of those forest fragments, which is called Lot 6, and that lot is about 30 square kilometers. So it's quite big, but it's one of the smallest fragments in the Kinabatangan, and so it's surrounded by the Kinabatangan river, and also a small tributary called Koya. And then obviously around that we have also old palm plantations, because this is the thing in the Kinabatangan, is that forest is surrounded by old palm plantations.
You provide different stages of programs as students level up in university, from a 2-week field course to a professional training year and postgraduate PhD courses. About how many students do you receive every year, every normal year? Because obviously right now I'm guessing not too many.
Yes. Between 5 and 10, 15 students. Most of my PhD students are long-term, so they basically live in the field center for 3, 4, 5, 6 years. And then I've got also master students who are more short-term students. Like we get a lot of Malaysian students from University Malaysia Sabah, and they stay for 1 year in the field, and then they have 1 year to write their thesis.
So you use drones, camera traps, tags, and many other technology devices to track animals and conduct research. Do you tag every animal that you catch?
No, we don't. We don't tag everything that moves, if that's the question. And we don't catch everything. So we have a focus on some species. We try to look at a large array of species that we were able to tag, because not every species can get tagged or can get caught. So we worked on about 13 different species in the Kinabatangan. The project usually lasts for a certain time until we achieve our objectives. So the idea of tagging wildlife is to have a better understanding of their movements. We want to know where the wildlife is going, where those species are moving. What is the size of their home range, what is necessary for them to survive in that kind of landscape, so that in the long term it can provide us information on for making recommendations to wildlife managers on how to best set up corridors, for example, establishing corridors. So when we have that information, then we stop. So for a few years, we have been coloring quite a lot of individuals and different species. Now we have decreased dramatically because we have managed to get all the information that we needed. So now currently we are only setting up colors on or tags on pangolins and on leopard cats and flat-headed cats, and that's all. And elephants also. Elephants is more of a long-term project where we really want to understand, because they walk long distance and they go, and they also go into plantations, etc. So we work with plantations and trying to understand where they're going, what are their needs, but also we monitor the herds in the whole state of Sabah. So we have elephant color in different areas in Sabah, not only in the Kinabatangan. So yeah, that's what we do.
Has any of these technologies ever helped save an animal or helped reveal a new human-animal conflict? And if it did, were you able to do something about it?
Because it provides some really good information on where species are going, and for example, elephants, it can allow us to lobby the government and provide some really good information on where, for example, strategic corridors should be. And so it has allowed us in the past on designing corridors of forest between two forest reserves, and then get that corridor gazetted, for example, by the Sabah Forestry Department. So that has happened, and that has helped doing that. It's also to know to monitor the species. And so what we also do is that we send the positions of those elephants to the wildlife managers and to wildlife enforcement, like the forestry department and the wildlife department, and so they can patrol and look after those elephants, because that we have some issues with hunting and wildlife crime. So elephants can be targeted for ivory. So setting up satellite collars can help monitoring them and having a better idea of where they are, and so that you can send enforcement team to look after them.
What's been your most unexpected picture or funny picture you've gotten through a camera trap?
Well, I mean, at the moment we have one going viral on YouTube and also on Facebook. Is this video camera that we have on two elephants sliding in a mud.
I've seen that one.
So that one got. I just find out today actually that on our YouTube channel, Danau Girang Field Center YouTube channel, it has about 380,000 views, which is not bad for
Oh,
for a small.
yeah. Wow. Has any of the equipment ever been damaged by an animal?
Oh yes, every day. I mean, we get some of our camera traps stolen. I have also that amazing picture of an elephant carrying with the trunk one of our camera traps. So that was interesting. Macaques also and monkeys, they play sometimes with the camera traps. So that's mostly what happens. What we also get is camera traps stolen by poachers or
Oh,
fishermen, people who don't want to be seen, or
yeah.
they're stealing the SD cards or the batteries and leave the camera. So that's what happened. But otherwise, it's not too bad.
Is there any species that you've seen decreasing over the years?
That's a good question. Yes, I mean we have species decreasing. We Well, one of the species that has decreased, and I know that because there has been work carried out by the NGO UTAN in the Kinabatangan that was run by Mark Ankrenas and Isabel Lachman. It's the orangutan. So orangutans have decreased. Back in when I started working with them in 2002, 2003, they carried out a large helicopter survey and ground survey. And they estimated the population to be about 1,100 orangutans along the Kinabatangan. Since then, about 10 years later, it was potentially a decrease of about 300.
I read that 75% of the Kinabatangan rainforest has been dominated by industrial palm oil plantations. To restore some of the trees that have been lost, you co-founded Regrow Borneo alongside Cardiff University. Could you summarize its goal and how it operates?
Yeah, it's a project that we started a couple of years ago, back in 2019. We launched it in October 2019. It's an idea that I had because I'm a Cardiff University staff, and at university, students travel a lot, and also staff. And I thought that it would be a good idea to propose to the staff and students of Cardiff University a way of offsetting their carbon emissions. And also the idea was to promote biodiversity conservation, improving the habitat of the wildlife in the Kinabatangan, and restore the trashed forest that we have along the Kinabatangan. So those were the two goals. So carbon sequestration and biodiversity conservation. Yeah, we have started planting last year. And so far, our goal by the end of this year is to have replanted between 12 and 16 hectares of degraded forest. So what we are trying to do is to also monitor those restoration plots. And because we are a research center, so we are going to establish botanic plots. We are going to carry out surveys. For frogs, for small mammals. We are going to do birds mist netting, and we are going to look at some invertebrates species, and try to look at how wildlife is going back to and recolonizing those degraded habitats that we have restored. And then we're also going to measure carbon sequestration. So we have set up botanic plots, and we will measure tree growth, mortality as well, and we look at deadfalls, etc., and look at how the forest is sequestering the carbon.
Could you tell us how people could further support this initiative?
One way is just visiting our Just Giving page. So, for example, if you fly, if you go somewhere for your holiday or for work, and you fly, you can decide to offset your carbon emissions, and we provide a map, and you can then calculate if you fly, for example, from Kinabalu to London, it's usually about 100 pounds, and then you can donate that on the Just Giving page. So that's one way. If you want to to just support wildlife conservation, you can just donate anything you want. Another thing would be to to also, well, if anyone is interested, is to, come and visit the field center, spend some time with us as a volunteer, and take part also in the project with the local community, and do also some science with us. So that's another way also.
Have you seen any changes since you planted the trees? More biodiversity?
No, we can't. It's too early. So as I say, we started planting last year. It's far too early to look at to see any changes. For sure, it's going to improve the habitat, certainly, because we also plant fruit trees, and so food for wildlife. That's going to improve the habitat, definitely, and also that will improve connectivity. So we sometimes increase the size of a corridor. We also work with oil palm plantations, and increase the riparian reserve when possible. So it will allow species to travel. Don't like to go into plantations, and they only go through forest and canopy cover.
Do you have any other projects for when things will reopen normally that you can share with us? Your center was established around 2008, so is there any other room you think needs to be added to the center? Maybe another lab or?
Not really. I don't want to make it bigger, because when it's bigger, you need more funds to maintain it, and more staff, etc. I just want the center to be producing some good research and some good scientific papers, and be able to provide good information for wildlife managers. What we have done is what we have set up a laboratory here in Kota Kinabalu, together with the Sabah Wildlife Department and an NGO called Eco Health Alliance, where we work on health, genetic, and forensic. So we're doing some genetic work. We have PhD students working on different species, and now we are starting to do forensic, and we are assisting the Sabah Wildlife Department and other agencies with forensic during enforcement, and when there is a need for using CSI, etc. What we have done also the past 2-3 years is try to support the Sabah Wildlife Department and the Sabah Forestry Department with their enforcement, and we have increased the capacity. We raised some funding from the US government to set up an intelligence unit to gather information about wildlife crime at the Sabah Wildlife Department. And also we have helped the forestry department to increase their anti-poaching unit, and getting funding from the Sime Darby Foundation in Malaysia. What we are doing now is trying to help implementing those plans. And one of the major recommendations of those plans is to increase enforcement. That's what we are doing. And another one is to increase and connectivity. So Regrow Borneo is one way to increase connectivity.
Finally, going all the way back, the first time that I met you, if you remember me, was at a presentation of the book Animals of the Kinabatangan.
Yes.
Can you see that? Oh, there's green on it, so here it is. Have you released any others since then? I've seen you had a sort of partnership with a book called JoJo.
Yes, we had, it was an ebook. Yeah, we did that, and then the benefit went into Regrow Borneo. And then we have produced a few books on a species, like on the elephant. We have a book called Itin. I don't know if you heard about that book. You can find it at well, I don't know now, it's probably closed, but you can find it at Borneo Books or Natural History Publications. We have done one on the banteng, which is this wild cattle that we have in Sabah, and one on crocodile. Upin and Opogi, those are the three. Yeah.
It's a great way to educate children. Well, thank you so much for joining me, Dr. Benoit. What you're doing with DGFC is so inspiring and is certainly not going to waste. Thank you for your time, and I look forward to seeing all the projects that you will complete in the future. Have a great day. Bye.
Welcome. Thank you, Julia. Bye-bye.
Thank Thank you for watching today's interview. I feel so lucky to be surrounded by such rich biodiversity, and I believe it is our job to protect it. One tree produces more than 260 pounds of oxygen per year. That's enough for 8 people to breathe. Show your support to DGFC by following them on social media. I'll see you next time. Hope you enjoyed. Bye!